Right, welcome again. My name is Teva Hawea. I am part of the team from the Center for Suicide Research and Intervention. And today we're gonna have some quality time discussing about the realities of suicide. What is suicide? Why is there so much silence about it? And what can we do to make things better for the ones that are in crisis? So some housekeeping rules. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box, and one of the team members will respond to you. Additionally, you could wait until the end of the session, and then at the end of the session, you could ask your questions and you will still be answered. But yeah, if it is a prompt urgent question, please type in the chat box. Also, if you do get emotionally overwhelmed in the course of this session, kindly text uh text us on the side on the chat, and someone will reach out to you and guide you through this. We know the session could be overwhelming, and we are here to offer you as much support as we can. So uh what is CSRI? CSRI is the Center for Suicide Research and Intervention. We are located at Karen Triangle Estate. It's off Karen Road, off Ngong Road, just before you reach Karen. And we are here to support anyone going through pain that leads to self-harm or suicidality. And we offer therapy, we offer trainings, and we offer support groups for those who are not ready for one-on-one sessions. And so for today's session, we are going to have Mary Gitawu speak to us about the realities of suicide. This is a participatory session, so please don't feel shy about talking. So go ahead, raise your hand and respond so that we know how best to tailor this to the people here. Haya, karibuni sana. Mary, you're welcome to take it up from there.
Thank you, Favor. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to have everyone here. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to take us through the realities of suicide and surviving the silence. I work alongside Favor and other colleagues at CSRI, and it's an exciting evening for us to just be able to have a conversation around the realities of suicide. Like, what does it mean when we say about realities of suicide? How do we survive the silence? And what does it actually mean that we are surviving the silence? Favor, can I go ahead and share all you've shared for me? Can I share?
Yes, you can share.
Okay, where is that place? Okay. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So the realities of suicide, surviving the silence. That's our topic for today. And why do we want to talk about realities of suicide and surviving in silence? So suicide is a very emotive topic to discuss about, and we could be sitting here and you get triggered, or you're not feeling okay with it. Please, it's okay to leave the room. It's okay to mute. It's okay not to hear us. The most important thing is for you to take care of yourself, even as you do this session. And if at any one point you feel that you need support, I have a couple of colleagues here who are therapists. So, and Favor will probably share their details towards the end. Please reach out and let us support you, because that's what we want to do. So why are we having conversation around realities of suicide and surviving in silence? One, because this is not just any topic. It's a lived experience for many of us, because many of us have been soaked up in shame, or probably even hidden behind different smiles, or even buried under the phrases like "I am fine," or hiding ourselves inside the beautiful clothes that we wear, in the wonderful workplace that we keep going each and every day, probably in our churches, And we just have this phrase that I am fine. But silence, though it is familiar, it's not always safety. And that's what we want to talk about this evening. And so today, even as we come together to begin that, breaking that silence with honesty and compassion and courage, I want to invite us to get into a moment of noticing us and just taking a moment to ground us and to even notice how we're coming into this room this evening. So allow yourself to, probably on the seat that you're on or the couch, even if you're lying on your bed, and just allow yourself, if you can, you fit to be on the ground, but just take a moment to notice you, to notice how your body is arriving in this space, to notice how you are this evening, how you're responding to realities of life this evening. Just notice that. Just notice even how you're surviving in silence, in so many things, not only in suicide. And taking a deep breath to a count of 4 and out to a count of 4. Notice the room that you're in. Are you feeling safe? Are you secure in the space that you're in the here and in the now? Just allow yourself in. Notice you. Notice the person that is arriving in this room. What is it that you can see in your surrounding? Again, just breathe in and then just breathe out. Wherever you are, can you feel your feet? Can you feel and notice your body? What are you sensing? Coldness, warmness in your body? How are you this evening? Be compassionate to yourself, have mercy on you, and be gracious to who you are this evening. Why are we talking about the realities of suicide and even surviving the silence? One is because we know the rates of suicide keep on going up and up and up. 2, suicide is becoming the second largest cause of death, especially to the young people, and self-harming. And more so because the system that we are in is also not doing so well. And so there's so much pressure that keep following us day in, day out. The stigma when you're still struggling with suicide is still out there. It is still not viable for us to, well, some of us cannot even be able to afford professional support. But how can we still, in our own way, talk about suicide and even support us, even as all this is happening? So let's honor those that are unspoken. Maybe some of us are here and we walked the path of loss, the path of pain. And that could be you. Maybe it is someone that we love that has walked that way. Either we've lost someone, we know someone who lives with the thoughts of suicide, we know someone who's attempted, and we know someone who's been believed by suicide. Maybe deep down within you, you're still holding so many questions, regrets, or even fears. This space is for you and for all of us. And we are not here this evening to diagnose or even fix things. We're not going to try to do that. But we are here so that we can witness one another. We can feel each other's pain. because what we want to do is to understand us and to be able to hold space for us who are sitting here and for us that live in pain and for us who do not even understand what is this suicide, what is this self-harming, why does it keep happening, why am I triggered, why am I having thoughts. So we honor you if you're here with us this evening. So the numbers, suicide is often spoken about in statistics. Most of us keep saying how many people have died of suicide, but behind every number is a story. Behind every person that dies of suicide, there's a silence, or a scream, or even a soul. Someone probably screamed, we didn't notice. Somebody was silent, we didn't hear that silence. So for every statistics, for every number, there's a story, there's a silence. And today we want to just peel back the layers and name what is hard to name, and that's suicide. We want to deeply listen to the realities that often go unheard of, especially in our homes, where it could be taboos to speak about suicide or mental health struggles. In our schools, where if we mention the word suicide, we could get expelled or suspended. In our churches, where we're told, hey, it's time to pray, or you haven't prayed for, you haven't prayed enough, you haven't meditated enough. Or in our workplaces where you're struggling day in, out, toxic work environment, and even in our communities where suicide cannot be mentioned, where mental health struggles cannot be mentioned because of fears of abandonment or fear of exclusion from our communities. If we are going to change the story, we must first hear that story that I'm in pain. And in all the silence, in all its complexity, there's hope. And we can't be able to get to that place. So we just want to listen to the realities, even as we keep going on. So what's the complex reality about suicide? When we talk about suicide, at times we often simplify it. And most of the times we can even say, but they just wanted to die. Why didn't they seek support? Why couldn't they wait? Why couldn't they go to hospital? Or they didn't take their med. They didn't take their medications. They failed to take their medication. But the truth is, many don't even want to die. Many just want that pain to stop. And it's because we're speaking from a place where we know that so many of us have come in and said, I just wish this suffering could stop, this pain. But because they don't know how to do it, then suicide kind of becomes an option. So this is a complex reality, but at times we oversimplify it. We oversimplify the suicide by just saying, maybe they wanted to die. Why couldn't they wait? Why couldn't they talk? But what we want to do is to know is that these people wanted the pain to stop. But let's talk about the psychological and the emotional layers of suicidality and how does this come about when you think about the psychological and the emotional layers about of suicide. So depression, anxiety, trauma, and even chronic stress often underlie suicidal thoughts. You've experienced trauma and it has not been managed or processed well. There's chronic stress in your workplace, in your school, at home. Over time, developed anxiety. This all could often underlie suicidal thoughts. Many people experience what we call emotional numbing, and not sadness per se, but a flatness, a sense of being disconnected from the world, or you feel dead inside. So we most of us actually say it's sadness, but when you think about it or when you hear it from people, it's a place of, I just feel flat. There's just flatness. I can't even describe how I am feeling deep down within me. That sense of disconnection or that sense of feeling dead inside, emotional numbness, that's a psychological and emotional layer underlying the suicidal thoughts. And of course, we never forget the feelings of hopelessness, the shame, or being a burden, which are very common. Most of us feel hopeless. Most of us are ashamed of the things that we're going through and the things that we've encountered, and we feel a burden to others. And that's why most of us do not even come out to seek help, because you're probably feeling that you're a burden to people. So we choose to keep off from people. Suicide can actually feel like the only exit when the walls are closing and no one hears you're knocking. That's what it feels like. You keep knocking and you're like, no one is hearing even as I knock. And the only exit becomes the suicide. What are the social and structural realities? The loneliness, the discrimination, the poverty, violence, displacement, they all add to pressure. Think about the things that we've encountered in this country in the last 1 year. Think about that moment where things don't go right all the way you wanted and you're feeling lonely. You're struggling even financially. There's a lot of violence that is happening in our space, whether man-made or natural. There's all that violence, displacement by so many things, including flooding. Violence again can also cause displacement. All these add to pressures. And in the African context, where silence is often encouraged because we're told, don't talk about your struggles. Think about the masculinity. Don't talk about their struggles. You need to hide yourself. You need to be strong. You need to pray more. We all hear those things when we're struggling, you know. Some of us want to get support, but we're told, just be strong. You can make it. Keep going. Keep going. Praying more. When was the last time you prayed? Why don't you start doing the 6-hour prayers, the six times prayer, all this number of, you know? Of course, in most scenarios, mental health services are still inaccessible or unaffordable. And that's a reality. Think about the people in informal settlement. It's unaffordable. It's inaccessible. The social silence is not neutral. It isolates. You cannot ask for help if you've been raised to believe that needing help is a weakness. So many of us have been raised where we're told, you can do it. You don't have to keep telling people all your problems. And many of us have heard that about that in different settings in our homes, because we had to protect the name of our families, the name of our fathers, the name of our, the culture. So you are told, you can be strong, you can do it. I believe in you. So we can never, it's a reality. It's a silence that we live with, that we cannot ask for help, because when we were being raised up, we were told that asking for help, or it was pointed to us, whether directly or indirectly, that when you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. And now you've grown, you find yourself in a crisis, and you're not so sure how to even go about it. So it becomes silent. And eventually, it can only go as far. Let's talk about the gendered difference. And this, I will put it back to us, being led by Favor, to just take us through. When we think about the gender difference, the men versus the women, where are we? Favor, over to you.
Hi. So I think in all the 5 years that I've been in CSRI, I tend to find like more women come out to ask for help than more men. And where the men who have shown up are the ones who have shown up like at the very extreme stages of their journey, like so overwhelmed, so bad, and they're like, this is my last, for example, if you're on a bus and you're going to CBD, Nairobi CBD, and then there is this last stop, Apo Ngara. So it's like they wait until they're on the point of, hey, I must stop here in Ngara to avoid the traffic jam. And all along is there was other options on the way, there was support that could be offered on the way. So yeah, many men tend to wait until the very last minute when they're extremely on the edge and vulnerable. And sometimes it is hard when you're like completely on the wage. However, if you learn to ask for help earlier, it can make things go easier. You see, like if you're thirsty and you really, really, really need water, and you go drink water, you know how relieving it is. But then imagine if you had a bottle of water on the way, on the trip you're doing or the hike you're doing, and then you drank a sip, you drank a sip, you drank a sip. You won't reach the point where you feel dehydrated. You won't reach the point where your mouth is white, you know, like that, and your lips are cracked, because at this point along the way you had what you needed, you had the water that you needed, you had the support that you needed through that hike. So a lot of the men in our communities are silent because of masculinity, or subscribing to American school of thought every here and down. Men should not talk about this. Men should behave like this. If you're a man, do this. Of late there's been this TikTok, Instagram trend that it's this Kenyan guy and he goes, mwanaume hufai kupanda pikipiki, mwanaume rukia, mwanaume hufai kufanya hivi, mwanaume fanya hivi. It's funny when you watch it, but then at the core of what is it presenting to the men? It's giving a standard that is unachievable, a standard that is untamable for these men. Because men feel like, oh, I cannot do this because I'm a man. I cannot do this because I'm a man. I feel like it is time to redefine what masculinity is. I feel like it is time to define what being a man is. Of late, currently in the current generation, being vulnerable is a new kind of masculinity. Being able to acknowledge that, hey, I am not okay here. I need help here. I need strength here. That's the new kind of masculinity. And then there is this cultural exploration that we have that definitely absolutely kill our men in silence. Men are supposed to be stoic. Men are only supposed to talk, like when do they even talk? When you ask yourself, when do they even talk? When they're playing FIFA, or when they're playing pool, but then that is limited to the scope of the game. What about after that? It is a good starting place, but it's a place that we should continue. Additionally, when it comes to women seeking help, that's good. That's good because most women actually talk to each other. So their reality is less encumbered by silence than the reality of men. Men have a lot of silence around them, but the fact that women talk actually make it easier for them to have more support system. They have more people that they can lean on, and they can be supportive to them when they're in crisis. Therefore, I feel like it's important for us to find that one person, like, check right now. Put your 5 fingers up. Do this with me. Please, wherever you are. Put your 5 fingers up. All right. Think about a person you would call when you're hungry. Just one friend that you would call when you're hungry. That goes to your little finger. Okay? Pick one friend you would call because you're bored. That goes to that finger next, the little finger. And then skip the middle finger, then go to the other finger. One person you would call when you just need to talk about, stuff, not deep stuff, but talk about stuff. That goes to that finger. And for your thumb finger, one person you would call at any point on your day, and you would not feel lost. You would feel like you belong, and you can be around them in silence, and you can be around them in conversation. Now, go to your middle finger, and for that, think about one person who would be there for you no matter what. A person you're willing to be vulnerable around, and a person you're willing to be there. So, all these 5 people are important in your life. All these 5 stages of friendship is important in offering you support as a person. I know we say a lot of silence around suicide, there are a lot of silence around asking for help. And sometimes asking for help begins with asking the people closest to you. Sometimes it involves asking that friend you can go eat with and just be like, hey, how are you feeling about this? And then going on and on. Let's not let the culture that we were born in influence who we are and how we relate to each other. Let's not this culture be what is holding us back. Let's have the courage to break the silence, the courage to ask for help and to support each other every step of the way, because that's what we need. Most people end up dying because they feel like, oh my God, there is no one to talk to. There is no one to support. So find yourself people and small, small groups and small, small persons in your cycle, in your circle of friends that you can count on and rely on. All right, back to you, Mary.
So men, can you hear me, Favor?
Yes.
So the gender difference, the silence in men, the reality in men, the silence in women, the reality in women. What's the difference? How do they perceive suicide or mental health challenges? What does the statistics tell us? To those of us who know, what does the statistics tell us about men and women in terms of struggle about mental health? Who die the most, women or men? Men. So men die the most. What about women? The women attempt the most. And this is because of the shame, the masculinity. So there's expectation. Our cultural way of bringing up has taught men different things and women different things, like about masculinity and silence, where a man grows up, a boy grows up, and even as they show emotions when they're little boys, we're telling them, men are not supposed to cry, men are not supposed to do this, men must be strong, men must keep it to themselves. So the expectation, the cultural expectation and the masculinity, we are seeing it that it's not working now. Maybe it worked back in the days, but in the space that we are in, it's not working, it's not helping. Actually, it's led more men to death because of these cultural expectations of strength. It has killed men in silence because that man would rather go than talk about all the challenges they're going through, than talk about all the pain they're experiencing, than give up because they've been told you can't give up. You're the head of the home. You have to keep doing this. Your children have to be like this. Your wife or your partner has to be like this. So they struggle in silence, and that has killed so many men. So the silence behind the smile. Sometimes this silence doesn't even look like suffering. Sometimes it's actually just high performance, being the strong one in the family, cracking jokes while thinking about the next move or how to die, showing up every day with no will to live. And many of us here today have lived in that space of silence, that silence that is not suffering, that silence that keeps encouraging you to go to work each and every single day, pushes you to be a high performer, pushes you, though people are calling you a workaholic, pushes you to be the best report writer. It's also made you to be the strong one in the family and everyone compares with you. It makes you that silence, cracking jokes while you're thinking about death or hurting yourself. It's showing up every day when you have no will to live. That's painful to think about it, that there are actually many of us who show up every single day and they don't have will to die. And you keep doing it day in, day out, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years. And it's painful, it's sad. And this is the reality of suicide. That many of us do not even shout about it. Yet at the same time, we know those of us who shout the loudest. And that in that shouting, it still doesn't feel like suffering. It's also about high performance and being the best team leader and being the one who is looked upon to lead the team and to lead team building when you're going out for team building events. It's being the silent one, the one who provides for every family member, who pays school fees for all the siblings' children. It's cracking jokes. It's being there. It's building the best house for your parents. It's showing up every day with no will to live. So the functioning suicidal person. This functioning suicidal person, they actually look very fine. They're often very responsible, even caring for others. But deep down within themselves, internally, there's that disconnection from the world and even from themselves. They're exhausted. They're planning secretly, and they have even resigned from themselves. Because the moment you get disconnected from you, the moment you get disconnected from the world, you've resigned, you've given up, you've given in. You're exhausted. Yet at the same time, you still have to look fine. We have so many of us who are functioning suicidal. We have so many of us who maybe this, we do not want to say it, but this is us. And this is a reality. It's surviving in the silence. And if you're here this evening and that's what you feel, you're not alone. And we want to assure you that they still help. Help can still be found. And you can still find that connection somewhere. So don't blame yourself. It's still possible to get that kind of support. So why do people stay silent? Why do people prefer to survive in silence? One, it's because they fear to be judged. What will people say if someone knew that was actually struggling with suicidal thoughts, that have attempted suicide before, that have been thinking about dying? Most of us actually say, I don't want to burden anyone. And we've seen those suicidal notes where someone said, I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to be a burden. Shame or even religious guilt. Many of us are religious. And so we're like, imagine, I'm a church leader. I'm a cell group leader. I go to church every Sunday. What will people say when they hear that I'm struggling or I'm even seeking support in this space? Of course, past experiences where you were probably ignored or mocked or even dismissed. Nobody listened to you even when you were growing up. You were dismissed even when you said anything. So you're like, well, it's part of me. Nobody gets to listen to me. Nobody gets to hear me out. So I would rather keep it to myself. I would rather not say anything. The truth is, many suicidal people do not need any kind of advice. They just need someone to stay with them in that darkness that they're in without even flinching. That space of darkness that they're in, that's where they want someone to stay with them, someone to hear them, someone to just avail themselves, avail their shoulder for them to lean on. That's what most people are. And ours is just to listen, to offer an ear, to be there, and to walk with people, to cry as we watch them, to know that they are not a burden, to avail ourselves for them to just rant, to just talk, to say how disappointed they are with life. Because nobody actually has answers to so many things that are happening in this world. But we just want someone to hear us, someone to listen to us, not even try to understand, but someone to just hear about how hurtful the day has been, how it's been so stressful to even go through that interview or to go through that that part of the day, So most people just want someone to stay with them in that darkness without even flinching. So suicide prevention is not just a hotline, it's a lifeline. When we think about suicide prevention, it's not just having a hotline, it's about thinking or offering someone a lifeline. Because prevention is not just about stopping someone to die. It's about helping them stay, creating a kind world and relationships that they can survive in. We do not just want people to stop people from dying. We want to be able to, can we be able to create an environment where people can come, be heard, and be supported without judgment, without being ashamed, without being guilt-tripped, a place where they can survive, where relationships are working, and a kind space. So even when you think about suicide prevention, it's just not a hotline. It's just telling someone, don't think about it. You cannot die. When I tell someone that it's not today, what am I doing about that today? Because many people do not need fixing. They just need to be heard, to be seen, to be believed in, to be met with presence and not panic. For someone to identify with the struggle that I am experiencing, for someone to validate my pain, for someone to say, I hear you, I resonate with that pain. It shouldn't have been that way. Let's try and get another way out. We cannot fix so many things, as I had said earlier. There's so many things, like even when you think about the space that we are in, even here in Kenya, there's so many things that would love to change, but we can't fix them. But how do we continuously support each other, offer an ear to each other, provide a safe space where someone can come and know that Mary is a safe space for me? How do we create that? So even as we think about suicide prevention, what are we doing about it ourselves, in our surrounding? Me as a person, what am I doing? Am I creating a safe space that when someone comes to me and talks to me, that they're sure that I will listen to them and they'll be heard? That's what suicide prevention is, where we're talking about the realities that, yes, that's a reality, that's true, those things happen, where I will support them not to just survive in that silence, but for them to speak about that pain that they're feeling. So listening without solving. Most people in deep pain do not even want solution. They just want space. And we may never understand why they don't want solution, but that's the truth, that even at that moment, they want you to hear them out first. Solution becomes a number two. It's not the first thing when someone is in a struggle. They want you first to hear them, to validate their pain. Then we can get a solution. So it's first listening without saying, okay, so this is what you're going to do. Because what if what you're saying is what you're going to do doesn't work? We're actually putting them, again, on the spot of death. So we want to listen, hear them, and then after we listen to them, after we validate their pain, now we can say, okay, so now let's see what we can be able to do. So it's not about just finding solution. It's about listening. It's about supporting that person in the here and in the now moment. Don't say, at least you have, like that's what happens most of the time when someone comes to us and tells us, like, I have really tried this way. I have tried to do this. And then most of the time we actually respond and say, at least you have maybe your college degree, you have a home to live, you have a home, you have a family. Of course, I know I have, so that's not deniable. So we want to be able to think positively, like telling someone, that sounds really, really heavy. I am here with you. It doesn't matter whether you've been in that same situation. At that particular moment, it's that person that matters. It doesn't matter whether it worked for someone else. It is listening them and saying, yeah, that's quite heavy on you. I am here with you. I am here now. Let's figure out a way out. But not giving a quick solution. Because you see, when we start saying that at least you have it, we're already trying to fix them, and you do not want to fix them because we can't. We want to be the kind of people that when someone can fall apart in front of without fear, that someone can come and just fall just here with me without fear, without judgment, without shame. That's who we want to be. And that's a reality. That's how we will stop people from surviving in silence, where we will support people to start talking and speaking about their pain and their struggle, and just make this world a beautiful place. That's what suicide prevention is all about: listening without solving. When we think about how we even support, one of the things we should never forget is about community and connection. And when I mean community and connection, I literally mean even as at different households, for example, like even just having peer support groups. That could be your community, or friends that check in. Safe spiritual places all protect against suicide. The church is a community, it's a connection. Home is a community, it's a connection. Are those spaces safe enough to protect us against suicide? Do we have friends who check in? Are we ourselves friends that check in on each other? Healing happens in relationship, not in a vacuum. And that's why home becomes the best place for healing, because there is support, there is relationship. You identify with these people, you speak the same language. Because it's about consistent, it's about quiet presence. That consistency of love, that consistency of listening, that consistency of watching and following up, that's very, very, very important. We want to be able to create community and connection. Do we have community in our own homes? Am I a community as an individual? Am I a connection as an individual? And that's what we want to ask ourselves this evening, so that even as we think about suicide prevention, how is the community? Remember, healing always happens in relationship, not in a vacuum, not only when you're alone. You need people to create that consistency kind of care. Are our spiritual spaces safe? Are they consistent on how they provide care, or it is selective? Today you do it this way, tomorrow you do it this way. How is it consistent to create a place of safety where people can heal, where people can be heard and supported? Of course, we want to encourage us to ground ourselves for the body, where we're talking about breath work, intentional breathing. Like just sitting on that seat on the couch or wherever you are, and allowing yourself to breathe and noticing how you actually breathe. Touching, it could be touching yourself, or even touching the person who comes to seek support from us. Engaging in different kind of movement, intentional movement, rhythm, creating a rhythm. Even like for us who go to the gym, when you're actually doing the movements and the different rhythms, are you intentionally knowing that you're actually doing them? Are you in the moment? Are you in the presence? Are you in that time, in that moment where you can be able to actually feel your body, how your body is breathing, how you're moving? Are you in that space? Because these grounding exercises remind the nervous system that I am still here. I can stay one more moment. And that's what we want to do. For us to continue reminding our nervous system, our body, that we are still here. When the body wants to quit, just sit, ground you, remind you that I'm still here. Let's keep going back to the nervous system and reminding the nervous system, we're still here. We can still stay one more moment. When we meet with the people who are struggling and they come to us, how do we support them? Do we notice how they're breathing? Do we even give hugs? Like, those are some very basic, but they really matter, because we want to keep reminding ourselves that the body is cared for. You can still live another day. We also want to engage ourselves in rituals of hope, and that could mean lighting a candle in our spaces, journaling, just talking about how your day was, praying or singing for those of us who sing or pray, just making it a ritual. Naming ancestors. Naming ancestors, I mean, we never forget where we came from. All these offer meaning and continuity when even words fail. You know, like even when you think about where you came from, can you do journaling? Can you pray? Connecting with the Supreme Being, that's God. Communing, you know, doing meditation, praying, journaling, writing, just lighting up a candle. What are some of the rituals of hope that we do? And some of us even have different ones that are not even listed here. Probably taking a bath, taking your cup of tea at a particular time of the day, you know, probably sleeping at a certain time of the day, going out for a walk at a certain time of the day, wearing a certain outfit that could be a ritual of hope, just sitting down and probably even remembering someone who you lost. Doing a prayer for you, for the community, singing, maybe doing a phone call, you know, even if it's a Zoom call with someone, just rituals of hope, things that keep bringing hope to us day in, day out. All these offer meaning and continuity when words fail, because at times we cannot even be able to express ourselves with words. What are some of the things that we do even with our own hands? Some of us love gardening, flowers, you know, painting, coloring. What is it that you do as a ritual of hope to keep going, you know, and to keep encouraging and reminding us that we are here in the now and in the moment, and we can face one more day, one more moment. So we want to start reaching in and not just reaching out. And what I mean is, instead of us always waiting for people to come and ask for help, how can we offer connection ourselves? You know, at times we say, but they never came to ask for help. But how can we, us who are here, our communities, reach out to offer connection to that person, to offer support to that person, and different people in our spaces? For example, we have friends who we know how they are day in, day out, when they're silent or when they're not talking. How do we reach out? So instead of us always saying, reach out, how are we reaching in? How are we finding them? How are we going to them and asking them, how can I be of help? Let's go out for coffee. Let's go out for a walk. Would you like company or even silence? Because you can just be there and you guys are silent with each other. Do you want someone to just sit with you today? You have nothing to talk about, but you just sit in, reaching in, not just reaching out. And this is my invitation, even as we come to an end, and even before I hand it over back to Favor, that we become those people that reach in and not just saying, let them reach out or reaching out. Let's reach in. Let's go to them. Let's invite them. Let's invite us to their lives. Let's offer a pen. Let's offer an ear. Small things, like even, you know, just calling and even saying, hey, I'm thinking about you today. With nothing else, just saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. That sentence could mean the world to that particular person. Hey, I'm thinking about you. Have a wonderful day. Just that. It could mean everything. It could be the lifeline that this person was waiting for that particular day and for the days that are to come. So let's learn to reach in and not just out. So instead of waiting for people to ask for help, let's offer connection gently and respectfully. hey, when can I come? We hang out. Or hey, why don't you come to mine this weekend? Or why can't you go for a walk? Very inexpensive things that we can actually do to reach in to each other. Favor, may I hand it over back to you?
Hi. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you for the session. Um, I'll, I want to take this last couple of minutes to just ask us to reflect on what has been said. And if anyone has any questions, this is a good time. I think we've answered all the questions that are in the chat. So does anyone have any questions? This is a good time for any questions, anything you need clarification on. All right, I have a question. Someone has asked a question that will be interesting for all of us to answer. So, in part of the rituals, no drugs. What do we think about that? Mary, back to you. How do you can part of the rituals be drugs?
Of course not. um, and this is because we know what drugs can do and can lead us into doing. But then we need to get something that would replace the drugs so that this person can continue with a certain ritual. So, working with this person is to support them to identify something else that would replace drugs. For example, would ask this person, let's talk about you and drugs. What's like the relationship like? What's your relationship with drugs? What happens when you indulge in them? Which particular ones are you indulging in? Which particular ones are you indulging in? So we want to find out about the relationship between that person and the drugs. And then once we find the relationship between them and the drugs, we can know, is there something else that we can replace as opposed to the drugs? What do the drugs make me? Like, what am I surviving, or why am I indulging in drugs? So once we know that, then with this person, we can be able to develop something that can go in place of the drugs.
Okay,
That's what
thank
I
you.
would say for now. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's important to mention also that for it to be a healthy ritual, it has to be something that helps you stay grounded and helps you stay in touch with yourself. Sometimes rituals are unhealthy, and then healthy rituals are what always end up leading to death. All right, so one of the comments say breathing in itself is a drug. I would recommend falling in love, which is another drug, unfortunately. But then Shida ni the significant anchor, the significant other being an anchor too much. Well, that's good. Falling in love is nice. It does give you light and sunshine. And yes, it is important to draw a boundary between the person you're in love with being your pillar of strength and you and it's being uh, a relationship that you are relying on too much, so you lack your own balance because things happen. And then there's a question: what about those who do not have friends to talk to? Um, people that happens. That happens a lot, and this is where we come in. At CSRI, we do have therapy where you can just come and talk. And we have support groups. We have one on the 21st of this month at our office. You could just come and chill and talk to a bunch of people about what you're going through, where we are. Mary, could you please post the slide with our location? And then so yes, that's a community that you can start building because the support group has people in different stages of their journey, and you can sit with them and talk to them and listen to them. So the support group is on the 21st of August at our office in Karen Triangle Estate. I think Mary's gonna pull up a slide in a minute. In Karen
Mm.
Triangle Estate, just off Karen Road. And then third, we have an amazing event coming up. It's called the Human Library. So it's a place where people come and instead of reading books, they read human beings. So you see it and talk to other people and listen to their stories and ask questions. For the support group that is there on the 21st, no, there is no payment. You just show up at the office. But then for the human library that is there in September, there is a payment for entrance and stuff. I will share more details with you via email after this. However, you are absolutely welcome to the support group. That one has no payments. Okay, and there you can find a group and a community to talk to. Is there any other questions? Also, you can check our website or email us or text us on social media or call us or WhatsApp us, and you would find someone to talk to. Yes, when it feels all alone. So thank you, Mary, for making the time and for doing the awesome presentation. Thank you all of you for being here and for being in touch. If there is something about the session that you want to go back and reflect upon, the session is posted on our Facebook and will be uploaded to our YouTube later in the day. But thank you for all showing up and may you have a lovely night. Please remember to reach out to us if you need support at any stage of your life. Thank you so much. Have a good night.